Hello everyone, thank you for inviting me to talk to you today. I would like to discuss the Nitrites and Excipients pre-competitive data sharing initiative. During this presentation, I aim to introduce the initiative, to talk about the steps taken to ensure the quality of the data, and to share with you some of our initial findings we have from the database. To introduce the Nitrites and Excipients data sharing initiative, I'd like to share the basic principles. The aim is to generate and share analytical data on the levels of nitrites in common excipients. LASA facilitates this data sharing, and the proprietary data is curated, blinded, and hosted on Vitix software. A consortium has been formed of the organisations who share data and gain access to this database of shared excipient nitrite results. Data quality requirements have been defined and agreed by the consortium to ensure the database will contain robust quality data. The database aims to increase the knowledge the scientific community have on nitrite levels, save time, avoid duplicate testing where possible, and provide supporting data for nitrosamine risk assessments. This graph shows the growth of the database since it was established in September 2020. It currently contains data for 678 studies for 79 common excipients. The consortium meet regularly to discuss and agree upon the scientific direction of the database, ensure the data meets predefined quality standards, and they contribute and share expertise and knowledge on this new challenging topic, and work together to share this with the wider scientific community through presentations like this, but also through publications. It is very important that the quality of data is maintained and guidance is put in place. Experts within the consortium developed a validation criteria based on several factors, including selectivity, repeatability, and accuracy. The data can be generated using any analytical method as long as the validation criteria are met. There is a field in the database where the validation status is recorded. Another important principle is that the data is on excipients, not excipient vendors or suppliers. Along with the nitrite levels of excipients, LASA collects information on the excipient batch and the excipient supplier. However, this information allows LASA to complete an internal blinding process. This blinding is an essential requirement for the database to keep the information regarding the excipient supplier confidential. This was a decision made by the consortium, as the data is for scientific purposes and not for business interest. I'll talk more about this in the demonstration of the database coming up. In this short demonstration, I would like to show you the results for the excipient microcrystalline cellulose. Once you've logged into the database, you can search for an excipient using excipient name. The database is made up of 3 tables. The first being excipient, which is the table we're on now, just showing the excipient name and CAS number. The excipient results, which show the detailed results we received from the member organisations. There are 113 results for microcrystalline cellulose. Let's take a look at that table. On the left-hand side, we have the excipient name information. The first field is the nitrite limit of quantification. We then have the nitrite result. We do collect information on the nitrate levels as well. We have a few fields for the high-level methodology information, including a link to the validation criteria used. We collect data on the date of the excipient manufacturer, the date the test was run, and lastly, a supplier and batch codes. This code YAT keeps the excipient vendor or supplier information confidential, but allows us to see that these 3 results are from the same excipient supplier. The batch code keeps the information confidential, but allows us to see that record 1 is a different excipient batch to record 2, but record 2 and 3 come from the same batch. Let's switch to the excipient summary table. This is only made up of 2 records, the first for nitrite and the second for nitrate. This takes all the 113 studies in the excipient results table we were just looking at and summarizes them into a minimum, mean, medium, and maximum concentrations observed in these studies. And finally, once you've finished reviewing the data can be exported in a report. Now back to the slides. My last few slides show some of the initial findings from the database. This analysis was performed in August 2021 with a dataset of over 400 results for 71 excipients. This density plot of nitrite levels in the database shows the distribution of results. Each of the colours represents the maximum, mean, medium, minimum nitrite levels for each excipient. The average value observed from all the results is 1 microgram per gram of nitrite. There is variation in the average nitrite content and batch-to-batch variation among excipients. These 3 box plots show the variability between different suppliers for the individual nitrite levels of magnesium stearate, microcrystalline cellulose, and cornstarch, grouped on the various excipient suppliers. Each coloured box plot is for a different excipient supplier. If we look at the results for magnesium stearate, supplier code BCU on the far left in red has 2 nitrite levels around 1 ppm. However, supplier code VCM in grey on the right has a higher variation and higher nitrite levels. These differences observed between different excipient suppliers potentially reflect differences in source materials or processing methods for excipient manufacturing. Box plot A shows the distribution of nitrite results for selected excipients. Although closporidone and magnesium stearate results show a wider distribution, the vast majority are much lower. It is important not to just look at whether an excipient has high or low nitrite levels. The contribution of each excipient in the overall nitrite level in a formulation is proportional to the ratio of that excipient in the formulation composition. Box plot B takes the nitrite results and demonstrates, for an example, solid or formulation, the nitrite contribution is greatly affected by the overall excipient loading. I would like to end this presentation by sharing some of the plans the consortium have for 2022. This data sharing initiative has achieved and learnt a lot over the past 18 months, but our main goal is to continue growing the database. We still require more data to help us answer questions on the source and levels of nitrite in excipients. The consortium hope to increase their understanding on the analytical challenges of testing excipient nitrite levels, and we would like to continue efforts to publish work where possible to share the knowledge gained from this database with the wider scientific community. I would like to acknowledge all the members within the consortium. We could not have done this analysis or gathered this data without the help from everyone within the consortium. So thank you for all your efforts. And finally, thank you for your attention. And thank you for inviting me here to speak to you today about this data sharing initiative.